Hey everyone, Melissa here, and in today's video I want to show you how you can take one of these simple, basic 98-cent Easter pails from Walmart. I got this at Walmart, and turn it into a Shopkins pail. So I want to show you what this became. Ready? Ready to see it? Here she is. There is our very own Wishes Easter basket. How cute is this? So I made this Easter basket for Caitlin this year, and it took me about 45 minutes or so to make. And the coolest thing is, let's get this camera reattached here. The coolest thing about this is that it only cost about $6 maybe to make total, so it's not even an expensive project. It's very simple and affordable. So let me show you everything that you will need in order to make this basket. The first thing you're gonna need is some different kinds of felt, and the biggest piece that you're gonna need is what you use as your main base color. So I decided to use the traditional yellow color with white frosting. So what you're gonna need is a big bag of one big sheet of yellow felt. This is a 36 by 36 inch, and I believe the cost of this was about $2 or $3, but I used one of those 40% off coupons. I ended up paying $2 for this piece of felt, okay? So you want one big package of yellow felt. The next thing you're gonna need is a regular sheet of pink felt. You're gonna need maybe 2 sheets, I used one, I believe, of white felt, and you're gonna need a sheet, or at least a small section, because I only used a very small piece of it, of black felt. And then some things around the home that you're gonna need is you're gonna want a pair of scissors, okay? Handy dandy pair of scissors, and you're going to want a hot glue gun. So if you are thinking about making this yourself, you're gonna want Mom's help, because with the glue gun, you might burn yourself. I burned my fingers a couple times in making this basket, so you're definitely gonna want some help with using the hot glue gun. I recommend the hot glue gun because it dries and hardens quick, so that way you can go along. So let me show you the steps to take. The very first thing that you want to do is you want to take the big piece of felt and you want to cut it a little bit smaller. I believe I did about 25 inches to 25 inches. So I just started cutting off 2 of the sides so that this made a smaller square. All right, so a 25-inch square instead of a 36-inch. And I took one of the scrap pieces, and this particular one is a little bit smaller than the one that I used. But I want to show you something here. The reason why I folded it in half and attached this to the basket is because even when you look at this, you can see the design through the felt still. See how you can still see the flowers and stuff? So the first thing that I did was I removed the handle. All right, it just snaps down, and if you give it a little tug, of course this one's gonna stick for me right now. There, the handle will pop off. So let's take the handle off and get it out of the way for now. And the first thing I wanted to do was help with the problem of the design showing through. So when I cut that 25-inch square felt piece, I had 2 long sections like this left over, and I folded one of them in half, the bigger, I folded it in half, and I went right under this seam here. So like if I start right here, I went right under this seam, and I just started gluing this felt all the way around the basket. And when I got to this part, it was a little bit longer and overlapped, and I didn't want it to overlap, so I trimmed it down so that I had a, just one seam, okay? So, and I trimmed it so that it wasn't hanging over the bottom at all like this, okay? So I had just attached that with some glue. I didn't go crazy with the glue, but I attached that around it. So you can see that you still see the design a teeny tiny bit, but when you start getting another layer of felt, that design starts disappearing, okay? See how you can't really see it anymore? So that was my goal. So this is the first step that I took. Now once I had that glued on, I took the square piece that I had left and I started wrapping it around the basket like this, where I'm leaving here. I'll keep doing it from the side because you can see it easier. I was leaving plenty on the top and plenty on the bottom, and I glued all the way around the basket like that, making the seam come where I ended it where the pail gets put in. So if you look here, you can see the seam is pretty close to where the pail handle goes. I didn't want it to be seen from the back or the front, so that's what I did. Now once you had that on there, okay, you had a lot of excess on the top and bottom, and it was pretty easy to take the side and just start gluing that down and making that nice and neat, and then doing the same thing underneath. So when I was to the point where I was doing the underneath part, and I'm gonna grab my camera again, I was like gluing a piece down and then folding it over and gluing that piece down and gluing and gluing and gluing all the way around. And there were a few times where I put a little cut in the felt so I could overlap and fold it a little easier so that it wasn't huge. So let me take the eggs out of our completed wishes for a minute here and show you what I did to the bottom. Okay. So when you look at the bottom of wishes, you can see how it is a little messy. I just kept folding and I made cuts. So I cut that part right there and I overlapped it and I just kept gluing them down. If you want to hide that so it doesn't look so messy, you will end up with, you know, some scrap pieces. So I had cut out this square in case I wanted to cut out a perfect circle and put it on the bottom, or if I wanted to put it inside her. But I'm happy with that. It doesn't really show. It's the way I did it. It's not super bulky, so it sits right. So I wasn't really worried about it. If you look on the inside here, you can still see plastic pail. If you wanted to do the same thing to the inside where you put this in, let's get rid of that, and you know, squish it down in there and glue it, you can if you want it nice and neat. I just didn't think I really needed to. It's going to be filled with grass and you're not really going to see that anyways, so I didn't really bother. So once that was done, I had a perfectly wrapped yellow basket. And the next step that I did was reattach the handles. And how I did that was I took my scissors and I started cutting into the felt right here. I made cuts into the felt. And once I got the hole, I was reattaching. Here, let me put my camera back on my table. Once I got that part done and I was putting the handle back on, I took the handle and on this part that locks into place, I put 1 drop of hot glue and I stuck it in there and I pushed it up as far as I could to get it into place. All right, and then I did the same thing on the other side where I put the drop of glue and I put it in there. And the reason why I decided to glue it is because the felt did make this area wider and it kept popping off. So my solution to the handle popping off was to just glue it on so that it couldn't pop off. And it still is flexible. Let me show you. It still is flexible. It still moves. It's not in place, but it's not popping off either, which makes me happy. All right, so that is how I did that. The next biggest step that I had to take was adding this braid. So this is actually, it's not perfect. It's bumpy in some spots and thicker, but that is actually felt that I braided. So you certainly do not have to do that. You can take and just cut stripes and just attach a stripe if you want to make it simple for yourself. But what I did, and these scissors just do not do a good job of this felt, so if I had my better scissors handy, I would show you. But what I did, see, it doesn't want to cut. But I started off with 6 strips. Okay. The reason why I started off with 6 is because this felt is not long enough to fit around the entire pail. So I was taking 2 strips and gluing them together with the hot glue like that. So I made 3 extra long strips or ropes of felt. And once I had 3 long strips, I started braiding them together. And even when I finished, there was still a gap. I wanted the gap to be in the back. So right here to right here, there was a gap. So I cut out 3 more strips and just started braiding them together. I kind of put a little dab of glue to help hold them in place, and I started braiding. If you want to just do 2 and even just twist it like that, that would even work too. But you could just go like that. So I just kind of braided it in a small section, and then I just attached it to the gap and glued it on. All right, so that was the most time-consuming part of this whole process. The next step was to do the frosting, and this is where you're going to want a wider piece. Initially, I cut off these smaller pieces, and I was going to cut them to be frosting and go like this, but I didn't want to see this line here. I wanted to be able to fold it over and make it look so much neater on the rim. And let me adjust the camera so that you can see what I'm talking about. So you can see this isn't just ending, it actually folds over and into the pail. So I made something that was double my original cut. So instead of being 2 inches, I made something that was 4 inches. And I just took my scissors and I just started randomly cutting. And again, these are the worst scissors for the felt. They're just what I happen to have. And I just started cutting these little dollops of frosting in these random sizes and shapes and everything. And I just started cutting them like that, and I'm just gonna end it really quick. But I would go like this and make my frosting, and it glue a piece here, glue a piece there, and then my excess I was just folding down and gluing down right on top of the yellow felt that I did the same thing to. I didn't glue any of these pieces down except for maybe 1 or 2 that were kind of floppy on me and I didn't like. So again, it took 2 of those long strips and it still had a gap. So you can see my not so pretty gap right here. I'm not 100% happy with this piece, but you know, it is what it is. So you would just kind of cut your own little piece, and when I have my better scissors handy, I will probably straighten this out a little bit. But I made a small little section that I could attach to it. So even this piece would be better there than that. But and then I just cut a V so I could cut around the handle. So you can see that better on this one where I just cut into the felt so that the handle would fit. Okay, so the rest is easy. Now all you got to worry about is her eyes and her mouth. So all I did for her mouth was, again, I just took another piece from our pink felt and I just cut that little kind of moon piece. You always want one side a little taller than the other, so you just dip down and don't quite go as far up, and you make a nice cute little mouth, and you just glue that on with the hot glue gun. And then the eyes. So with the eyes, all I did was cut off, as you can see, just one small little square of fabric, and just to show you on the white because it's easier, I folded that in half, and I didn't even trace a design. I just started cutting out eyes. I just guessed at how big I needed to make it, and I figured if I kind of goofed up that it didn't really matter because I had a lot more felt left over where I could make it bigger or smaller or whatever. So I just kind of cut it out by hand, and thankfully it worked, and I just had to glue those on, and then that was all there was to it. So one of the other things I kind of thought about doing, and I thought would be kind of cute, and I might do this. Let's see. One of the reasons why I didn't do anything was I thought the green handle was kind of cute because on Wishes, her candles are green, just like the handle is green. So I figured I could leave the handle the way it is, but you could very easily, if you wanted to, let's show on this one. You could very easily, if you wanted to, take some of your excess felt and wrap it around the handle if you wanted to have it all felt. But I don't really think it's that big a deal. I kind of like the green just because, like I said, it matches the green that is in her candles on the actual Shopkin. So that was all there is to it. Now, not only do I think that this is really cute, simple project to use for your Easter basket, but how cute, how cute do you think this would be for your favorite little Shopkin fan to get her birthday presents in this, or just to have to store her Shopkins in. So many people are wondering, you know, where can I store all her Shopkins? She's got a million of them. These are so cute. How awesome do you think that it would be walking into one of the trading parties that happen with all your Shopkins inside this giant Shopkins pail? So stinking cute. So I know Caitlin was absolutely excited when she saw this. She was like shrieking, like, oh my God. And she's like, can I get to keep it? And I said, yes, it's yours. And she was so happy. And I just think, even just on display, just the idea of having some of these bigger eggs just sitting on the top of this basket is just too cute. So I'm putting the eggs in real quick. There you go. How adorable is that? So it really just took a few dollars and less than an hour to turn a simple 98-cent bucket into this adorable Shopkins bucket. So I hope you liked this video. I hope you're inspired. You could probably make this in almost any Shopkin that you like and just have fun with it. And I would love to see some of your projects and ideas. So, you know, be sure to subscribe to us, leave a comment below, tell me what you think. And if you can find us on Facebook, which we are KJ Toy Reviews, you will see, you know, where you can post pictures of your baskets. I would love to see how your basket comes out. So thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you soon. Bye.